Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for February 12th, Friday, February 12th, 2016, the WNW 226, and I'm coming to you from the Midwest in a farm in Missouri. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on here with crops and also talk about California. But first, I was wondering about the title this week. I thought, well, not a big news day. I mean, they had James Clapper, the head of national intelligence in front of Congress, and then all of a sudden, boom, Thursday happened. Yesterday happened, and you would think, oh my gosh, what's going on with all the negative headlines? The elites have to know that the economy is in serious trouble. They have to know. If you think they don't know, you're nuts. They know it. And so do the elites, around, the world and doing media. I mean, we only had, a couple hundred points. We're down 400 points at one point for the U.S. stock market. All the markets around the globe are in some sort of recession or some sort of bear market or tanking. Nobody's doing good. It's not like, oh, Iceland's doing great. Well, maybe Iceland. But anyway, let's look at some of the headlines. And things are bad when the Drudge Report that gets, a billion visitors a day, the Drudge Report comes out and says that, bonds and stocks tank and gold soars. I mean, that's their main headline on the page. Here's some other headlines here. Lines around the block. And this was also not only a zero hedge headline, but also a hedge on Drudge. Lines around the block to buy gold in London. Banks, please underscore that. Banks, folks. Banks placing unusually large orders for physical. And they're talking about physical metal, physical bullion. We had a $50, $60 spike in the price, and it backed off a little bit. And actually, since early December, according to Bo Polney, who is a cycle guy, cycles for the economy and gold, stocks, bonds, and all that, who will be the early Sunday release, says, he called the bottom in early December, and he says that, gold is approaching the launching pad. And that, the blue skies for gold and silver, because stocks and bonds are going to do terrible. He is the early Sunday release. He explains it a lot better than I do. He's the expert on this cycle. But he talks about how even though it's manipulated, the cycles are still showing that things are going to go way up. And he talked about biblical, that things were going to go wrong in a biblical way. This was going to be difficult. Here's another one. This was a guest on J.P. Morgan. He runs, fixed investments and commodities, a big wig at J.P. Morgan Chase. JPM, that's what JPM is, J.P. Morgan. Things have gotten out of control. People have more confidence in gold than in paper money. Well, yeah. Here we go. The last headline: shares plunge on global growth and bank fears. U.S. yields fall. Well, everybody's running into the U.S. Treasury bonds, so they fall down to 1.5% for 10 years. That kind of stuff. And this economy, we've been lied to ever since I've been on the internet. And we've had this recovery, and we have a recovery on Wall Street. We have a recovery in stocks. We don't have a real recovery. We got some bottom bouncing, but we have a real recovery, and I wish the mainstream media would just knock it off with the recovery. I think the facts on the ground are going to show that there is no recovery. And here's a big fact. This is on USA Today Money section this week. Yellen cites growing anxiety about U.S. economy. Hey, wait, whoa. Excuse me, stop. Time out. Janet Yellen, you just raised rates in December 15th or so, 16th, the Fed did, and you were talking about how, we're going to have, rate hikes into the future. We're going to, raise it 1.5%, the federal funds rate, overnight lending. And now all of a sudden, Yellen cites growing anxiety about U.S. economy. She's telling this in front of Congress. Look at this face. Does this look like somebody with confidence? Or she's like, well, hey, it's not my fault. I'd like to caption this. Hey, it's not my fault. Or, well, what do you expect me to do? I mean, they're even hinting at negative interest rates. The Federal Reserve, this after saying they're going to raise rates up to 1% or normalize rates to 1.5%, which is not normal, still very low. But the economy is bad, and the elites know it, and this is why gold is going to go up. Also, silver is going to go up, at least according to my guest, and Bo Polney is not the only person that thinks precious metals are going to go up, because the bonds, the assets that are underpinning the economy are going to be corrupted. They're going to be exposed for the liabilities they are and not assets. And that's the big picture. And you just got to see the interview on the early Sunday release. Next up, James Clapper, as I said, he's the head of national intelligence. He's in front of Congress this week, and he says, hey, the Islamic State is bent on a U.S. attack. And this is Clapper there in Congress, James Clapper. He says that the attack is not going to be just them recruiting some Americans, that actually the Islamic State, ISIS, is actually going to do the attacking. And he also talked about North Korea in Congress and saying that they have, estimate about 10 nuclear weapons, and they may have as many as 100 by the year 2020. Now, what bothers me about, there's a lot of things that bother me about North Korea. Kim Jong-un is a little crazy. I don't think, they may attack the U.S. I don't know. But what I think is more probable is them to give or sell their weapons to somebody that would attack the U.S. And so this is a very difficult situation. And it's a very dangerous situation, and we're being warned, especially with our southern border wide open. All our agents are worried about the children flooding across the border, and then there's other people that are flooding across the border, and I think terrorists and evildoers, as George 43 Bush used to say, evildoers will play against that. I mean, this is outrageous that the southern border is this wide open when you have the head of the National Intelligence, James Clapper, is talking about how they want to attack us and our borders are wide open. Shame on you, President Obama. I got to tell you, shame on you. A little election update. The field's narrowing for the Republicans. Fiorina is out. I liked her. Chris Christie's out. Good candidate, good governor, but they ran out of money. And then, Bush and Sanders, blew it out of the water. But this is, I thought, was very interesting. Front page of USA Today, the newspaper. This is after they did the headline where Sanders and Trump won. And then here we have Jeb Bush. He's right there. He's on the front cover. He was governor of Florida when I lived in Florida, incidentally. He was a good governor. You never heard him, dipping into the till or, or doing some nefarious thing. I got to tell you that. He never did that. But here we have, the headline is Bush donors, yes, fourth place. Fourth place, and they're partying over this. Now, listen, Jeb Bush, with the backing he has, should be blowing it out of the water. He should be at least neck and neck with Trump, but he's not. Trump had, twice as many votes as the nearest competitor in New Hampshire. Now, the thing about Bush, though, I want to point out, he's not going to go away. He may not have that many delegates, but he has money. And it may come down to Trump and Bush or Trump, Cruz, and Bush or whatever, but it's going to come down. But Bush is going to be in it, I think, to the convention. That's my prediction. Sanders, Clinton, I don't think Clinton has won a single contest yet, even though they said she won in Iowa, and they're not recounting the votes, but she got her tail torn up in New Hampshire. I mean, killed. But even so, because of the way the Democrats do so-called super delegates, well, her and Sanders have about the same amount of delegates. I mean, come on. That's fraudulent almost. I mean, Sanders wins and he doesn't get a winning total of delegates because the super delegates, the people on the Democrat side that want to continue ripping off America, they want Hillary, who's involved in no less, according to published reports, no less than 4 investigations at the federal level. The Clinton Foundation just got a subpoena for information about the Clinton Foundation's charitable work while Hillary Clinton was running the State Department. But there are 4 federal level investigations. And yes, the FBI investigation a little more than a week ago was deemed a criminal investigation into the antics of Hillary Clinton and her email servers. I still think she gets charged. That's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, that happened a long time ago before there was even a Republican candidate facing her. Any of the Republican candidates, I said she can't win. And what's happening so far with the 2 states that they've counted votes and delegates, she's getting killed with young people. Bernie Sanders is getting the young people. Women are not voting for her. Women are not voting for Hillary Clinton. They're voting for the oldest guy in the Democratic field, and that is Bernie Sanders. I want to bring up this real quick because I'm in St. Louis, and this was not front page news, but it was front page news here. So they're trying to get a consent agreement and revamp the police department, but what the city council is saying, and listen, there's plenty of African Americans on the city council. Here is one guy right here who's saying, "Hey, no, we can't. That's too onerous and expensive, and it's going to blow up the taxes, and we don't want to do that." So what's happening? The federal government is suing Ferguson. Now, the Democrats got together with the state governor here, and they, I think, in a backroom deal, said, "Yeah, don't stop them from burning down the city." They burned down 200 businesses. There are businesses that are never going to come there, and now the federal government wants to sue Ferguson, which is mostly minority, which is going to hurt African Americans and minorities and people on the council who voted no in a unanimous vote. No, unanimous vote. Black people, African Americans are saying, "Oh, this is too onerous. What are you doing?" What are they trying to do to Ferguson? They allowed it to burn to the ground. They sent people like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton there to stir the pot because, you don't send Al Sharpton somewhere to calm things down. And now, because they don't want to do some onerous rehab to the police department, which all stemmed around a guy by the name of Michael Brown, who basically reached into a patrol car after being stopped for a strong-arm robbery he did 10 minutes earlier, and the gun goes off, and then there's a struggle ensues, and then he's going to run at the cop, and the cop shoots him. It was according to the Justice Department, Eric Holder, the former Attorney General's Justice Department, his hands were not up. He wasn't telling people to shoot by the African-American witnesses, a half a dozen, that saw that. This is all because of Michael Brown. They have a plaque in St. Louis. They actually have some places, some memorials to Michael Brown, the guy that was wrestling a cop for his gun after a strong-arm robbery and died. He is being lionized in St. Louis. And now they want to do some onerous crazyville to the Ferguson Police Department, and it's just going to hurt the residents who are going to have to pay the taxes and pay for this, and that's mostly minorities, and of those minorities, mostly African Americans, which I think is totally unjust. Unbelievable. I told you I'm from a farm in Missouri. Lots of weather, lots of water here. Plenty of water. The lake behind me is full. The reservoirs are full here. But I'm going to tell you this, show you this again. This is the drought map. And if you look, here's the rest of the country. Here's Missouri. And if you look at the rest of the country, it's pretty good. But if you look at California, it's the black and dark, and that's all drought. And, it's bad for crops. It's 38 million people who live there. Now, there are other states that are affected by the drought as well. But California surely is ground zero. They have the most extreme drought warnings and drought measurements in about half of California. That's a big state, folks. And what I wanted to bring up was the hydroelectric power. I didn't realize this, but did a little research. They get up to 18% of their power from hydroelectric, when they have plenty of water. But this is a 4-year drought. And they say that's going to get cut down to about 7%, and which means higher rates. So higher rates and electricity prices for the people in California, and if this thing keeps going on, it's going to be higher food prices for everybody else in America, and it's a big growing region for the world. So the drought in California is not abating. It's not getting better. One quote in one of the articles I read was, "Well, we hope we get a lot of rain and snowpack in the mountains in the next, 6 weeks." That ain't going to happen, folks. NASA said that by March of this year that they would run out of water. Now, they got some water, and I don't know if that extends it or whatever, but, very difficult times in California. Very, very difficult times going on. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for joining me here on the Weekly News Wrap-Up. I really appreciate your support, both in the comment section and also with the donations. Remember, fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and above all, spiritually. Fear not. God is in control.